Hi, I'm Karl. I'm working in the Web Compat team, and I will be co-presenting with Daisuke, who's working in the Firefox DevTools teams, and we'll be talking a bit about web compatibility and DevTools. The fun part will be with Daisuke, the boring part will be with me. Okay, so usually when, who's a web developer here? Who's developing website for a business? Cool, almost everyone. I will be nasty. So usually when we are selling websites to clients, it's what we sell. Like we sell a beautiful image of something which is super sleek, clean, all the interactions are good, it's working everywhere, no worries. A website is not necessarily that. A website looks a lot more like this. Like underneath the UI, you have all the real stuff. So you're using React.js, you're using multiple versions of jQuery because of the libraries you're using, sometimes very, very outdated jQuery libraries, which means like some of them have bugs which are conflicting with the new one you're using. Declarative CSS with CSS in JS now is kind of in the trash down there. And oh, shoot, we have forgotten, like, we need to put a bit of accessibility inside. Oh, no, accessibility on the top shelf there. Like, let's not care too much about it. So that's the sad reality of websites. And the consequences about that is that you have users who are using a very shiny or dominant market share browser and who's happy using his browser and have a wonderful experience. And you have the normal user who's commuting every day in the train with a browser which is not the new one or the shiny one, but just the browser that either they didn't have the choice because like they are working in a company where there's a limitation about the browser, or just because they want to have the browser of their choice and they have a broken experience. Like websites are broken for them. And that's a sad story. Like if you're working in a big company, it means like some users can't use the website you developed. And for the company, you lose customers. So you have to think about that. So where does my job at Mozilla comes into that? I'm part of a team which is the Web Compatibility Team and which tries to address basically the mess of the web. All the dirty things you are producing, we try to get through it. Like basically let's say I'm a garbage scavenger or like a web plumber or like I'm dealing with dirty stuff on the web. So we have this website. If you see something which is broken, like a website, as a user, you're using the web and in your browser, it's broken. You can go to this website, be on Firefox, on Chrome, on Safari, whichever browser you're using, and you can report the bug there, okay? And there are people looking at these bugs. And what we do is we do diagnosis. What does that mean? It's like we go with our hands inside the minified, dirty, messy code with your 2 versions of jQuery and a minified React code, and we go through it. Like we try to define and understand the issues, and we try to extract what are the problems. And sometimes it's a bit hard. Like sometimes like it's very painful to go through your code. But we are a dedicated team of like 4 persons doing that, the diagnosis, and we handle something like 400 issues a week, and trying to understand what's happening. And the issues can be like multiple. Like you have user agent sniffing, which is one of the main issue. Be like for delivering an experience, like either you have the website, which is, for example, you're on mobile and you receive the desktop site on mobile, This is usually user agent sniffing issue, be on the server side or on the client side. You have things which are nastier in the sense of the user agent sniffing will create a specific code path in your JS, and you will end up in a code path which is not working for Firefox, for example. By the way, if you're doing like selections on whichever, like even for feature detection, have a fallback in your code. If you do JS, have a fallback. Like basically the fallback should not be broken. Like the fallback should be like something which is working for any users, okay? Like, so try to be creative in having a fallback which is working. So what's happening? Like we diagnose the website and we need to do something about it. Like we have different options. The first option is the hard option, which is outreach. So what is outreach? Outreach is basically me trying to find you, to track you down in your company. Like, who did this dirty code? I want the name. I want the address. I want the phone number of this person so I can harass the person. And for some countries, it's easy. Like, for example, in North America and Europe, like it's quite easy to track down people. In some, for example, in Japan, it's super hard. Plus, if you find the developer, it doesn't mean the developer has the power to change anything, because there's the boss, and there's the boss above the boss, and there's the marketing people at the top. And the marketing people are just like telling you, like, no, it's not in our business priorities. So outreach is super hard. It's really not like encouraging, and it's like you spend a lot of time. So the other solution is browser patches. So what do you do when you do a browser patch? Basically, you have a broken website. So you try to do outreach. At the same time, you can try to fix it in the browser, like by doing either hacks or live coding. So for example, we have pieces of JavaScript which sometimes will modify the behavior of the code, of the JavaScript code of the website on the fly. The problem with that is that it's a dirty solution. So you have the hard solution on the top, the outreach, and at the bottom you have the dirty solution. Why is it dirty? Because imagine your code base of the browser with a lot of patches, little by little on top of each other. At a point, like it's very difficult to manage. Plus, it doesn't improve the web platform, because after you have to live with that. The things which were dirty at a point, if they are continuing to be on the web, they become part of the web platform. Latest example of that, Dash WebKit. Okay, like many websites in Asia specifically have been using Dash WebKit for CSS or for JavaScript, which means it's now part of the web platform. Like in the spec, Dash WebKit is not anymore a vendor property, it's something which is part of the web platform. If you want to implement a browser, you're forced to implement WebKit. Like WebKit properties, like you don't have to insert the WebKit engine, but WebKit properties. If you don't do that, the websites will be broken. So, it's kind of a nightmare. Please improve. Like do the user, like give the user a better experience. All that said, I'm saying like it's dirty and you do like messy code, but still you're doing amazing thing with the web as web developers. And like we do all collectively things which are wonderful on the web. So it's not that bad, but please think about it. Like when you're creating a website, think about testing in different browsers. Think about having specifically there are tools now to do that, like on a website and services to help you to test in different browsers automatically. And inside Firefox, we have the DevTools, and the DevTools are an amazing way to try to understand and detect issues with website, and Daisuke will talk about that.
Hello, my name is Daisuke Akatsuka. I'm a developer for the DevTools. So today I'd like to introduce a new web compatibility tool we are developing as one of the DevTools. As Karl said, it seems that the web compatibility is very important for us. And however, what we check all of the CSS properties, HTML tags, APIs for the JavaScript, it's super hard. So I hope the tool will solve such a problem. But before that, let me talk about DevTools a bit. As you may know, the Firefox has tools for the web developer called DevTools. We can inspect the web pages, structures, styling, networking, and performance, etc., etc. So let's see this page structure using the DevTools. Oh, so have you ever used the DevTools in the Firefox? Ah,
oh, cool.
Good.
Yeah. End of the talk.
That's all. Yeah, according to the tools, this website has a main element and main element and the content is separated by the section tag, and each details are in the element. And we can also know how the style is set in the element. Now I'm selecting the body element, and we can see the rules in the body. So the text color is like gray. And the DevTools can not only inspect but also modify the page. So maybe change the color of text, maybe pink, and also we can change, for example, maybe the font spacing or the weight. So this means that DevTools can help us inspect and modify. Then we can apply the changes to the actual code. So the DevTools has so many features, so I'd like to introduce one of the new feature called inactive CSS. For example, if we want to center this image, how should we do it? So let's inspect this one. It's an image element was wrapped by the figure, and the figure wrapped by the div. So so this div have the height enough, so that maybe we can change the style in the div. So there is some way to center the element. So let me use align items here, center, but the layout was not changed at all. So the inactive CSS shows the why and how to fix the issue. And this icon is sign of the inactive CSS, and according to the tools, align item has no effect on this element since it's neither a flex container nor a grid container. Try adding display grid or display flex. So maybe display flex. And yeah, we could just center the element. So the inactive CSS shows hints such as the reason and how to fix. In case the CSS properties does not affect the layout. And now let me introduce the web compatibility tool. For example, maybe I inspect this element and I select the tools compatibility. So I'm using the padding inline property, which is a logical property, but according to this tool, the padding inline is marked as experimental. Also, some browsers do not support this property. Let me see the Firefox 60 ESR, Firefox Android 60 ESR, Safari current, and so on, does not support the padding inline. So let's see the Safari, using Safari. Yep, like this, the padding property does not affect the layout at all. So how to fix that? Unfortunately, for now, we may need to use the different property, maybe the shorthand, the padding, and even after that, the issue was gone, and then maybe we can provide the same content to all browsers. Let me demo one more demo. Inspect these images. I'm using the clip to clip this photo, since this photo is too big. So, however, the clip is marked as deprecated. So let's see the documentation and let's see how to fix that. Yeah, we can jump to the documentation for the Mozilla Developer Network, and we can check the solution. So according to this document, the authors are encouraged to use the newer clip path property instead. So maybe check the clip path and use the clip path. Yeah, actually the deprecated issue was gone. However, the layout was broken. So check the reason. So the rect function is invalid for the clip path. So let me copy and paste. Yep. Oh, yeah. Actually, this is not expected result. Yeah. However, it seems that we can solve the issue. So let me introduce one more feature of DevTools. That's called the CSS shape editor. So we can edit the CSS shape on the web DevTools, like that. Maybe triangle. Yeah. Well, however, the text alignment became to be weird a bit. So let's use shape outside. Shape outside. Yeah, if we use the shape outside, the shape outside can make the text alignment along to the shape. Yeah. Anyway, I could fix the duplicate issue. As you can see, we can know the web compatibility issue using this tool, and as Karl said, let's keep making the web amazing place, amazing and beautiful place with this tool. DevTools has we are developing so many features for DevTools. So if you want to know more information, please follow the Twitter account. Yes, that's it. Thank you so much.